What is going on, guys? This is Joey Young coming at you another video for the week. So I wanted to start off something a little bit different. We've been getting a lot of questions here and there, so I wanted to kind of answer those questions in some of the videos. So what I'm going to try to do is pick out 2 questions and kind of answer them before my videos so that you guys can share kind of the knowledge a little bit too. So I went ahead and got 2 questions randomly. What I did was I wrote down a bunch of questions that were recent that I thought were pretty good, put them into these little nice little balls, put them into the little slot machine there, and randomly pick them out. All right, so let's go ahead and do the first question. All right, first question is from Jeffrey. How's your discus? So Jeff is probably wondering what's going on with the discus after I kind of put them back together. They were fighting for a while. I separated them for a month. Actually, they got along pretty well for about a month to a month and a half, and then afterwards they started fighting each other again. I actually had to separate them again for a couple days, and then now they're back together. So not really sure what's going on there. They're not liking each other on certain days, and some days they're getting along. I might need to introduce them back into a community tank for a little bit, maybe with the Ultim Angels, just to kind of get other fish in there, and then that might separate their aggression a little bit, and also maybe the space is a little bit bigger for them to swim around. So that's what's going on with them right now. All right, and then the last question for today. So the next question is from Ricecapes. He says, I've always had a thing in my mind when I see your videos. How many ADA tanks do you have? By the way, another great video, bro. I like the old simplistic look and the new. By the way, one of my favorite stones is the Sansui, so that adds to the love of the scape. To answer that question, I only have 3 ADA 60p tanks, but I do have a lot of other tanks that look similar to ADA, but they aren't ADA. They're from other brands or other companies. But I just in general have a lot of tanks, and a lot of them are rimless, so they kind of look like ADA tanks. Alright, so today's update will be on the blue rack outside. You guys have not seen this rack in a very long time, so I want to kind of give you guys an update on the rack system. Some of the new livestock that I put in the tank for a few weeks, and you guys just haven't seen the new fishes yet. But I want to go ahead and show you guys this update. Alright, so for the first tank up here, we did have a couple invertebrates up in here, a couple shrimps, a couple crabs, but they did end up dying on me. So the only livestock I do have in this tank right now is the maroon lightning clownfish that I had in the sump. I moved them in here for a bigger area to swim in. The macroalgae is still in here. It's doing okay. There's a lot of algae kind of growing in here because the light is actually pretty strong. I actually dialed down that light a little bit just because there's more there's more light than there's actually algae for the actual macroalgae to consume. So we have a mini outbreak in hair algae, which is not bad, and I'll show you why in a little bit. And there is one more fish in this tank. It's going to be the 6-line wrasse. So moving on to the next tank across here, we have our 2 clownfish just chilling. We have our mandarin goby in the back there. And all the macroalgae in here also died back on me. We'll have to figure out what's going on in here. But we have a lot of hair algae for one of the tanks, and I'll show you in a little bit. But a lot of the hair algae in here actually is dying, or I'm actually pulling them back and actually feeding them to the purple tang and its tank mates. And then just moving down here, if you remember, this whole tank was kind of covered in hair algae. But as you can see, it's slowly kind of going back. Hopefully we'll see more macroalgae, the red ones, than the actual hair algae in a few months. Crossing my fingers. We have the clownfish that has been in this tank since startup. These 4 little guys just love it. They didn't seem to like their flakes for whatever reason, but the hair algae in here is all gone because of boom, 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 boom. So I got some new livestock, like I mentioned. We got some bicolor angels in the tank. They're really skittish right now. I actually added them in after a quarantine phase. They've been in this tank for probably about 2 weeks now. This is part of the hair algae that was from the other tanks that they're eating from. This one's a little frisky here. They're getting a little mean to each other. But this tank is actually really big. A lot of hiding places for them. You know, they're running around. They're really enjoying it. I think this is the only livestock that I'll keep in this tank here. Is these couple bicolor angels and then the 1 purple tang here. It's going to be bare bottom like this. They're just going to be consuming hair algae and macroalgae from the other tanks, and then along with any flakes that I decide to feed them or whatever I want to feed them. And they are doing great. So slowly I'm building up more livestock in the system. We need probably a few more fish to kind of stock this tank, that tank, and the tank below there. This tank I think is perfectly overstocked for its size, and it should help feed some of these macroalgae, and hopefully they will take off. All right guys, and that's a quick update for the blue rack outside and for the week. I hope you guys enjoy this week's update. If you guys aren't subscribed yet, make sure you guys are subscribed. And if you guys want to be featured in the Q&A portion, make sure you guys leave a question in the comments below, and I will pick out some of the good questions and put them into the slot machine there, and we will get some questions drawn for next week. And like always, till next time guys, peace.